Gio Han stared at the glowing skyline outside his office window, the twinkling lights of Seoul blurring through the tinted glass. It was past 9 p.m., but of course, he was still working. A knock broke his trance. "Come in," he said, turning away from the view. In walked Suh, his assistant, holding her phone like it was radioactive. "There's a situation," she said. He sighed. "What now?" "It's your uncle," she said, lowering her voice. "Chairman Han. He saw the article from last week. The one where you were spotted with a guy outside the jazz bar." Gio blinked. "And?" "He's upset." "Of course he is." Gio rubbed his temples. "Never mind that the guy was just my friend." "Not to him. He says if you want that promotion to managing director, you need to project stability." His words, not mine. There it was. The condition. The silent expectation. Marry young, play straight, look respectable. Gio sat down slowly. "So I need a girlfriend. By the next company retreat. In 2 weeks." Sue hesitated. "Or a boyfriend, if you're brave." He arched an eyebrow. "You think I can parade a boyfriend in front of my uncle and survive it?" "Then make it look like a very stable relationship. Bonus points if it's long-term." Gio leaned back, fingers steepled. "I have a stupid idea." "Go on," she said warily. "Do you remember Junyeok Kim?" Sue blinked. "The chaotic photographer with the bleached hair? Your friend from college?" "The same." She gave him a long, flat look. "Gio, he once brought a lizard to your birthday party. And I need someone unpredictable enough to agree to fake date me." Junyeok stirred his iced Americano slowly, eyeing Gio across the table. "So let me get this straight. You need a fake boyfriend to bring to a company retreat because your fossil uncle thinks love equals promotions. In essence. And you thought of me? Me, a chaotic bisexual mess with commitment issues and a suspicious tax history? You're also the best actor I know. Flattery won't get you laid. It's not supposed to." Junyeok leaned in. "What's in it for me?" Gio slid a white envelope across the table. 1,000,000 up front. 2 more if we survive the weekend. Junyeok blinked. "You serious? I'll even cover your wardrobe." Junyeok sat back, laughing. "Damn, you are desperate." "I need someone who knows me, who won't fall for me halfway through." "Don't flatter yourself," Junyeok said, grinning. "But fine. I'm in." "Just like that?" "On one condition." "What?" "You owe me 5 free meals. Fancy ones. No coffee shop crap." "Deal." They shook hands across the table. And just like that, their fake relationship began. Junyeok stared at the open wardrobe like it had insulted him. "Why do your clothes look like they cost more than my rent?" Gio glanced up from the tablet he was using, barely entertained. "Because they do." Junyeok held up a charcoal blazer. "This is stiff enough to commit war crimes in." "It's Dior." "It's Adore." Gio sighed. "If you don't want to look like a broke student at my family's dinner, you'll wear what I tell you." Junyeok plopped onto Gio's velvet couch dramatically. "This fake relationship is starting to feel real abusive. You're getting paid. Not enough for emotional trauma." Gio didn't answer. He just stood, walked over, and adjusted Junyeok's collar with frustrating precision. Junyeok froze as Gio's hands brushed his throat. "There," Gio said softly, "too close. Now you almost pass for dateable." "Wow," Junyeok muttered. "I'm tingling." But his heart? It definitely skipped. Junyeok had never felt more out of place. The estate was straight out of a chaebol drama. A long, stone driveway, servants at the door, and a dining room big enough to have its own echo. He followed Gio through the front doors like a puppy in designer drag. Gio's suit was tailored, effortless. Junyeok's, borrowed and slightly itchy, still managed to make him look devastating. Junyeok leaned in. "So, who do I need to charm?" Gio murmured without moving his lips, "Everyone. But especially the old man at the head of the table. That's Uncle." Junyeok's eyes locked on Chairman Han. Neatly groomed, face like a stone carving, silver hair. The guy looked like he ate junior executives for lunch. "Great," Junyeok whispered. "I've already peed a little." Gio elbowed him. They were seated at the far end. Gio's hand lightly rested over Junyeok's, casually intimate. "Junyeok," Chairman Han said, eyes sharp. "What do your parents do?" "They're divorced," Junyeok said easily. "Dad's in Busan. Mom owns a hair salon in Incheon. Chairman Han sipped his soup. I see. Your boyfriend's very modern, Gio, said Aunt Sumi, not unkindly. He's grounded, Gio said. Keeps me sane. Junyeok smiled and squeezed Gio's hand under the table. He snores, though. Like a bear. There was polite laughter. But behind his act, Junyeok was watching Gio. The careful poise. The perfect manners. The practiced smile. It hit him that Gio was playing a part too, but unlike Junyeok, he'd been doing it for years. They were finally alone, walking under paper lanterns. Gio exhaled like he'd held his breath all night. You did good, he said. Junyeok shrugged. I'm charming. You didn't flirt with anyone. Miraculous. Didn't need to. I had you. Gio turned. Was that a line? Junyeok smirked. Are you flattered? No, Gio lied. They stood there, watching Koi swim through the lip pond. You know, Junyeok said quietly, I almost forgot we were pretending. Gio looked at him then, really looked. The wind tousled Junyeok's blonde hair. His eyes were unusually serious. Don't, Gio said. Don't what? Don't make this harder than it has to be. Junyeok chuckled. Relax. I'm not falling for you. Yet. But Gio's gaze lingered. Too long. Junyeok changed into sweats, flopped onto the massive sectional, and checked his phone. A text from his mom. He's handsome. When can I meet him? Smirking face emoji. He stared at the screen. Typed a reply. Deleted it. Put the phone face down. Gio came out of the kitchen with a glass of wine. Junyeok didn't look up. Do you ever relax? I am relaxed. Where? Your spine's straighter than a ruler. Gio sat beside him. Not close, but not far either. You don't have to keep doing that, Junyeok said after a beat. Doing what? Being perfect all the time. Gio glanced at him. It's how I survive. They sat in silence, the room dimly lit. The tension between them, thick but unspoken. Junyeok wanted to say something witty. He wanted to poke fun. Instead, he looked at Gio and asked, what happens if your uncle finds out we're faking it? Gio didn't answer for a long time. Then, I lose everything. Junyeok's chest tightened for a reason he didn't want to name. Well, he said softly, then we better make it look real. Gio looked over, and for a moment, their eyes met. Neither of them moved. Then Gio stood, breaking the moment. Get some sleep. We've got a breakfast with the executive team tomorrow. Junyeok stayed on the couch, heart pounding. Sure, boss. He didn't know when pretending started to feel like pressure. But as he lay staring at the ceiling in Gio's spare bedroom, one thought wouldn't leave him. I'm in deeper than I thought. Gio walked into the living room to find Junyeok asleep on the couch, arms flopped over his eyes, hair a tangled mess, and one foot hanging off the edge like a crooked comma. He was snoring lightly. Gio pinched the bridge of his nose. This is why I suggested the guest room, he muttered. Too clean, Junyeok said suddenly, eyes still closed. Smells like money and judgment. Gio sighed. We have a 9 a.m. meeting, remember? Junyeok groaned and pulled a pillow over his head. You're the worst fake boyfriend. And you're the worst real roommate. They sat side by side, clean and polished. Gio in a navy suit, Junyeok in one of Gio's tailored jackets, slightly loose but undeniably handsome. Junyeok's hair was slicked back, revealing sharp cheekbones that made one of the exec's secretaries nearly choke on her orange juice. So how long have you two been together? One executive asked mid-bagel. Gio paused just long enough to be unnatural. Junyeok jumped in, all charm. We met in college. Roommates first. Then. I guess he got tired of women. Soft laughter around the table. Gio tensed. Junyeok felt it. But honestly, Junyeok added, with a grin, he was the only person I could ever imagine waking up next to for more than one night. This time the table melted. Even Gio blinked at that. Good save, Gio muttered as they exited the building later. I know how to sell a story, Junyeok said, smug. Even one that makes me sound whipped. You're doing better than I expected. Junyeok smiled. Careful. Say one more nice thing and I'll fall for you. You should move in, Gio said, tossing his briefcase on the marble counter. Junyeok, sprawled on the floor photographing his coffee for Instagram, paused mid-shot. Excuse me? For the next 2 weeks, Gio clarified. You'll have clothes here. Toothbrush. Evidence. If Chairman Han drops by unexpectedly. Junyeok stood. So now I get to live in a penthouse for free? Must be my birthday. It's not free, Gio said. You'll do laundry, too. You want me to be your fake boyfriend and your maid? Are you saying you're not already playing house? Junyeok narrowed his eyes, but he was grinning. Fine. But I'm bringing my plans. You kill everything you touch. Not everything. There was a pause. Too long. Gio looked away. Just, don't make a mess. Junyeok's place was a chaotic bohemian mess. Half-eaten ramen cups, string lights, canvases, and Polaroids on every surface. Gio picked up a pair of socks from the kitchen counter and grimaced. You live like a feral teenager. I am a feral teenager. In spirit. Do I need to disinfect everything before we pack it? Junyeok rolled his eyes. Just grab the box labeled junk that might be useful. That's all of them. They argued, laughed, and stuffed his life into 5 boxes and one very unhappy cactus. Junyeok sprawled across the huge L-shaped couch like he owned it, eating chips and watching TV with his legs dangling. Gio emerged from his room in glasses and a hoodie, human for once. Junyeok blinked. Whoa, you wear loungewear? Gio glanced at him. You wear pants? I'm not a heathen. You eat cereal out of a mug. Junyeok tossed him a chip. I make it work. Later, they ended up watching an old film, one of Junyeok's indie favorites, full of longing looks and unanswered questions. You ever fall in love before? Junyeok asked suddenly, not looking at him. Gio was silent. Then, I thought I did. Why didn't it work out? She wanted more than I could give. Typical Gio, Junyeok muttered. All business, no soft center. Gio turned to him. What about you? Ever been in love? Junyeok took a long sip of soda. Once. And? They didn't even notice. Neither of them said anything for a while. The movie kept playing. They crossed paths at the sink. Junyeok in shorts and a loose tank top. Gio in silk pajama pants and a robe. Junyeok snorted. Who wears silk to bed? Someone with taste. They brushed teeth side by side. Junyeok hummed a tune through the foam. Gio rolled his eyes. They bumped shoulders on the way out. Good night, Gio said stiffly. Junyeok yawned. Night, hubby. Gio stopped in the hallway, gave him a look, then kept walking. Junyeok smiled. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The sound of laughter from the other room still echoed faintly in his ears. He told himself it was just noise. He told himself this was just acting. He didn't believe himself. This was supposed to be easy. He rubbed the back of his neck. It's just 2 weeks. I can fake anything for 2 weeks. But his smile faded when he whispered. Right? A string quartet played somewhere near the bar. The rooftop was filled with white roses, polished wine glasses, and executives trying too hard to sound interesting. Junyeok leaned on the balcony railing, champagne flute in hand, grinning at a tall guy in a sleek navy suit. The guy was laughing. Touching Junyeok's elbow. Lingering. Gio saw it from across the garden, and felt his jaw tighten. His assistant sir noticed. That's one of our investment consultants. I think his name's Young Ho. He's too touchy. Looks like your boyfriend's enjoying himself. He's not really Gio caught himself. Sir raised an eyebrow. Right. Fake boyfriend. You're doing a great job pretending not to care. Gio didn't reply. Instead, he walked straight toward them. Junyeok laughed at something Young Ho said, but when he saw Gio approaching, expression unreadable, his grin sharpened. Hey, babe, Junyeok drawled. Meet Young Ho. He was just saying he liked my shirt. Young Ho extended a hand. You must be Gio. Heard a lot about you. I doubt that, Gio said, shaking it briefly. Junyeok raised his glass and mock toast. I was just telling him how possessive you are. Looks like I was right. Gio stepped closer than necessary. You're not here to flirt. Junyeok blinked, surprised by the sharpness in his voice. Relax. I'm just being sociable. Gio didn't break eye contact. You're mine tonight. That did something weird to Junyeok's chest. Young Ho cleared his throat and backed away with an awkward laugh. I'll grab another drink. Silence. Then Junyeok said, jealousy doesn't suit you. Gio didn't answer. He just took Junyeok's champagne and sipped from it, holding his gaze. Junyeok's heart flipped. Fine, he muttered. I won't flirt. But only because I like when you get all possessive. The ride down was silent. Tense. Junyeok leaned against the mirrored wall, watching Gio's reflection. So, he said, that was fun. Define fun. Watching you glare holes through my conversation partner. Hot. Gio exhaled. You were supposed to be my partner tonight, not a party trick. Oh? Is that what I am? You know what I meant. Junyeok stepped closer. Maybe I forgot. You should remind me. Gio looked at him, hard. But instead of answering, he turned as the elevator dinged open. Junyeok didn't follow right away. But something about Gio's clenched fists made his stomach flip. They didn't speak much after they got home. Junyeok peeled off his blazer and tossed it onto the couch. Gio, as always, removed his jacket with precision, hung it neatly. Junyeok watched him. Do you want to talk about it? He finally asked. There's nothing to talk about. You sure? 'Cause you almost choked Young-ho with your death glare. I told you not to flirt. And I told you I don't belong to anyone. Junyeok crossed his arms. We're faking this, remember? Don't get confused. Gio turned slowly. I'm not confused. You sure? Because that was a very real kind of angry. Gio looked away. You don't get it. Then explain it. I don't want people thinking this is a game. It is a game. No, Gio said, voice lower now. It's a deal. One with consequences. I can't afford to slip. I can't afford to look like a fool. Junyeok blinked. And for a second, he saw it. The pressure. The weight. All the things Gio never said out loud. You're not a fool, Junyeok said softly. I am if I let myself believe any of this. Junyeok took a slow breath. Then don't believe it. Just live in it. They stood in silence. Close. Too close. Then Gio turned away. I'm going to bed. Junyeok stared at the space he left behind. His chest felt too full. This was easier when he was just a rich, emotionally stunted robot. He spat into the sink. Now Gio was real. Jealous. Frustrated. Trying so hard not to feel. And that made Junyeok feel too much. He'd almost lost it tonight. He'd wanted to drag Junyeok away the second that man touched him. That wasn't fake. That was instinct. And that scared him more than anything. Because he didn't fake instinct. They bumped into each other again. Junyeok in pajama pants and a sleepy scowl. Gio in his robe, cup in hand. They didn't speak. Junyeok opened the fridge, took out milk. Gio glanced at him. Milk? Really? Don't judge my midnight cravings. You're 30. I'm 29. Same thing. Junyeok sipped dramatically. Want some? I'm good. More silence. Then, Junyeok asked, are we okay? Gio met his eyes. Yes. Junyeok tilted his head. Are you lying? Maybe. He didn't know why he said that. But he did. Junyeok nodded slowly. Then he reached up, wiped a bit of milk off his own lip, and Gio's eyes followed the motion like he was being pulled. They stood there for too long. Again. Then Junyeok said, good night, boss man. And walked away. Gio didn't sleep that night. Gio Han looked at me like I was his, and I felt it in my bones. That wasn't part of the deal. So why do I want him to do it again? Junyeok shuffled through the hallway barefoot, eyes half shut, hoodie falling off one shoulder. The apartment was still quiet, too early even for Gio to be up. He rubbed at his neck and yawned, making his way toward the bathroom. He reached for the handle, pushed, and froze. The door swung open into a full view of Gio, towel slung low on his hips, water glistening across lean, toned muscles, steam curling around him like some forbidden K-drama moment gone wrong. Their eyes locked. Junyeok's brain completely blue-screened. Gio blinked. The door was locked. No, it wasn't, Junyeok whispered, as if talking too loud would break reality. Silence. More silence. Then Gio stepped back, calm as ever. Well, now it is. He closed the door with one firm click. Junyeok stood in the hallway for a full 10 seconds before turning around and walking back to the kitchen in a daze. Junyeok was pouring cereal he didn't want into a bowl he didn't like. Still stunned. Still half-drenched in steam and regret. Gio entered moments later, dressed impeccably in a soft gray turtleneck and slacks like nothing had happened. Hair perfectly combed. Not a towel in sight. Junyeok pointed his spoon at him. We need to talk. Gio raised an eyebrow. About? About how I just saw more of you than your own doctor. You walked in. You left the door unlocked. I always lock the door. Junyeok slammed the spoon into the cereal. That's not the point. Gio opened the fridge. Then what is? Junyeok narrowed his eyes. The point is, boundaries. Remember? This is a fake relationship. No nudity. You looked first. I was blinded. Gio finally turned to face him. Do you want me to apologize? Yes. And wear a bathrobe next time. Or a full snowsuit. Maybe a helmet. Gio smiled, just a little. You're overreacting. Junyeok mumbled into his cereal, says the guy who looks like a Greek statue and damp. Gio blinked. What? Nothing. Junyeok had a freelance gig that afternoon. Outdoor shoot for a small magazine brand. Gio tagged along, under the guise of support, though it looked more like silent supervision. Junyeok squatted to capture a perfect shot, camera to his eye. Stop looming, he called out. I'm not looming, Gio replied from behind. You're like a rich gargoyle. Gio scoffed. You said you wanted moral support. I also said you'd be bored. Yet here you are. Junyeok stood and checked the preview. Your posture screams, I'd rather be at a board meeting. I'm fine here. Junyeok looked at him. Really looked. You know you're weird, right? How so? You came into my chaos, let me move in, pretended to date me, and now you're standing around while I photograph skate shoes. Gio's lips twitched. It's not the weirdest part. What is? Gio didn't answer.
They strolled back in comfortable silence, bags in hand, warm light on their backs. Junyeok glanced sideways. So, about this morning. Gio groaned softly. Must we? Yes. Because I can't stop seeing abs when I close my eyes. Then stop closing your eyes. Junyeok grinned. So you are self-aware. Gio rolled his eyes. It wasn't intentional. I know. A pause. Then Junyeok added, softer, still. It kind of messed with my head. Because you're attracted to me? Gio said dryly. Because I'm trying not to be. They stopped walking. The tension came crashing back like a silent wave. Junyeok didn't look at him. Gio exhaled. We're getting too comfortable. Junyeok gave a short laugh. You notice too. I meant what I said before. This needs boundaries. Right. Silence. Then Junyeok turned to him. But I also meant what I said. You looked good. Gio's throat bobbed as he swallowed. I'm not asking for more, Junyeok added. Just, don't be surprised if I look at you differently now. That night, they didn't speak during dinner. But the silence wasn't cold, it was loud, loaded. Junyeok was brushing his teeth when Gio came in again. This time, they both paused at the doorway. Junyeok moved aside. Go ahead. They stood side by side in front of the mirror again, just like the night they moved in. But now? Every brushstroke felt synchronized. Every accidental nudge felt like a spark. Junyeok spit and wiped his mouth. So, this is our thing now? Sharing toothbrush time? Yeah. It's efficient. Junyeok looked at Gio's reflection. Do you think pretending this hard makes it real eventually? Gio met his eyes in the mirror. I think pretending this well might be the realest thing we've ever done. Their eyes lingered. Then Junyeok shook his head, laughed under his breath, and left. Gio stayed behind, staring at his reflection. He didn't like the way his stomach fluttered when Junyeok laughed. I said I wouldn't fall. Bet I could control it. But he keeps breaking the rules I didn't know I made. And worse? He's starting to look at me like he sees me.
The lights were dimmed low, bouncing off marble floors and modern art pieces no one truly understood. People clinked glasses and discussed synergy as if it meant something. Junyeok stood next to Gio, wearing a sleek black suit, hair slicked back just enough to look expensive, but rebellious. He'd cleaned up for the event, but his mischief was still intact. Why are all your company events so sterile? Junyeok whispered. It's called elegance. It's called boring. Gio didn't smile, but his lip almost twitched. Then his posture suddenly stiffened. Junyeok noticed immediately. What? She's here. Who? Yuna. Yuna? My ex. Junyeok's head whipped toward the entrance. There she was, tall, poised, elegant, the kind of woman who looked like she walked out of a commercial for perfume and heartbreak. Junyeok blinked. That's your ex? Yes. She's terrifying. She's also a department head now. We were together for nearly 3 years. Junyeok's stomach did something weird. Did she dump you? Technically, yes. Why? She said I wasn't capable of loving anyone more than I loved my career. Ouch. Not inaccurate. Junyeok stared across the room as Yuna spotted them. She smiled. Started walking over. Junyeok didn't think. He just reached out and grabbed Gio's hand. Gio looked down, surprised. What are you? She's coming. Play your role, remember? But the grip? It was too tight to be fake. Gio, Yuna said smoothly. Still impeccably dressed, I see. You haven't changed, Gio replied politely. Junyeok cleared his throat. Hi, I'm the boyfriend. Yuna's eyes flicked over him. Then she smiled. Oh, you're the artist. Photographer. Of course. She turned back to Gio. You always did like your projects. Junyeok blinked. Excuse me? Yuna, Gio said sharply. She raised her hands in mock apology. Kidding. Mostly. Junyeok laughed once, but his eyes were cold. You're prettier when you're not talking. Gio choked on his wine. Yuna stared. Junyeok smiled sweetly. Sorry. That was a joke. Mostly. There was a long pause. Then Yuna gave Gio a look. Well, you certainly upgraded in attitude. She walked away, heels echoing. Junyeok didn't let go of Gio's hand. Please tell me you didn't actually love her. I thought I did. She's the human version of tax season. Gio didn't reply. But his thumb brushed against Junyeok's knuckles for just a second. Just once. It was enough. Gio drove. Junyeok stared out the window. The silence wasn't comfortable. You okay? Gio asked eventually. Why wouldn't I be? You were quiet after she left. Junyeok shrugged. I just didn't expect to meet someone who made me feel insecure. You're not insecure. Tonight I am. Gio glanced at him. Why? Junyeok didn't answer at first. Then, because she knew better than I do. Because she looked at me like I was a placeholder. Like I was just your rebound. Gio pulled over into an empty street and stopped the car. Junyeok. He didn't turn. Look at me. Junyeok finally turned. Gio's eyes were calm, steady. You're not a rebound. Junyeok swallowed. Then what am I? Another pause. Then Gio said, softly, the first person I've felt anything for. In a long time. Junyeok blinked, stunned. You're lying. I don't lie. Junyeok opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. Then, we're not supposed to feel anything. I know. Then stop looking at me like that. Like what? Like you mean it. I don't know how else to look at you. Silence. Junyeok exhaled, shakily. Drive. Before I do something stupid. Gio didn't move. Gio. Still nothing. So Junyeok leaned forward, just enough to close the space between them. His lips hovered a breath away from Gio's. But he stopped. Barely. Their foreheads touched. I'm not going to be a distraction, Junyeok whispered. You already are, Gio breathed. Still, they didn't kiss. They pulled apart, barely. Both shaken. Both pretending it didn't just happen. Junyeok paced his room, tugging at his sleeves, heart in his throat. He sat on his bed. Got up again. He wanted to run to Gio's room and demand an explanation. He wanted to lock the door and never come out. Instead, he opened his notebook and scribbled. She made me feel like I wasn't enough. But then he looked at me like I was the only thing he could see. I don't know what this is anymore. He kept replaying the moment. The almost kiss. The look in Junyeok's eyes. The ache that started in his chest and hasn't left. He was never supposed to let this happen. And yet, he couldn't bring himself to regret it. The lights were dimmed low, the city glowing quietly through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Junyeok had wandered into the living room after tossing and turning for hours. He had given up on sleep, on pretending his heart wasn't sprinting every time he remembered the way Gio had looked at him earlier. He curled up on the couch, a fluffy gray blanket draped over his legs, phone in hand but unused. From the hallway, footsteps padded closer. Junyeok looked up. It was Gio. Also sleepless. Wearing sweatpants and a black t-shirt, hair tousled, face bare. "Hey," Junyeok said softly. "Couldn't sleep," Gio replied, rubbing the back of his neck. Junyeok hesitated, then patted the space beside him. Gio didn't ask questions. He just sat. They didn't speak for a while. Outside, the city hummed. Inside, their silence felt heavy, but safe. "Did you always want to be a photographer?" Gio asked, his voice quiet. Junyeok glanced at him. "Yeah, ever since I stole my uncle's film camera when I was 8. Gio smirked. "You stole it?" "Borrowed it indefinitely." "And you never gave it back?" "Nope. Still have it." "Your trouble." Junyeok gave a lazy grin. "You're just finding that out now?" A silence. Then Gio asked, "What do you like about it?" "Photography." Junyeok paused. "I like catching people off guard. The in-between moments. Before they pose. Before they fake a smile." Gio tilted his head. "So you like honesty?" "Yeah. I think people are most beautiful when they're not trying." Gio didn't respond. But Junyeok caught the shift in his expression. And suddenly, the silence grew warmer. At some point, Junyeok fell asleep on Gio's shoulder. Gio didn't move. Didn't even breathe too loudly. He just stayed. There was a peaceful weight to Junyeok's head resting against him. And something fragile in the way Junyeok's hand had ended up loosely tangled with his. Gio looked down at their fingers. Then back up at the window. He didn't know what this was. But he didn't want it to end. Junyeok woke up first. His head still on Gio's shoulder. Blanket half on the floor. Their hands still linked. His face was approximately 3 inches from Gio's jawline. And Gio was still asleep. Peaceful. Unusually gentle. Junyeok stared. And stared. And then, because he was an idiot, he pulled out his phone. Took a photo. Snap. Gio stirred. Eyes opened. Their gazes met. Silence. "You took a photo of me?" Gio said, voice low and raspy. "Delete it," he added after a pause. Junyeok grinned. "Nope. You're unbelievable. I'll sell it to tabloids." "You wouldn't." "Would I?" Gio stared. And then, smiled. An actual, real, crooked smile. Junyeok's heart exploded. "I hate you," Gio muttered. "No, you don't." "I'm starting to question that." Junyeok was making pancakes. Badly. Gio leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching with amusement as Junyeok flipped another sad, misshapen attempt onto the plate. "This is criminal," Gio said. "I'm an artist, not a chef. Your pancake is crying. It's postmodern. It's a tragedy." Junyeok threw a strawberry at him. Gio dodged it. Barely. "You've got batter on your face," Gio said, pointing. "Where?" "Here." He stepped forward, wiped a bit from Junyeok's cheek with his thumb. Froze. Their faces were close again. Too close. Junyeok stared up at him, breath caught. "Gio," he whispered. Gio blinked. Stepped back like he was waking up from something. "Sorry," he said, too quickly. "Habit." "Habit?" Junyeok echoed. Another long pause. "I need coffee," Gio muttered, walking away. Junyeok stood alone, hands still tingling where Gio had touched him. The air between them had changed again. Not with a bang, but with something slow, subtle, undeniable. He smiled today. Not the polite one. The real one. "I think I'd burn 1,000 fake relationships just to see it again." Junyeok sat on the sleek leather couch, spinning a pen between his fingers. Gio was at his desk, reading emails, but the tension in the air made the silence hum. "So," Junyeok said eventually, "I've been thinking." Gio didn't look up. "That's dangerous. I want to revise our contract." That got Gio's attention. He lifted his eyes, one brow raised. "Excuse me?" "The fake relationship agreement. It's outdated. It doesn't account for, evolving circumstances." Gio narrowed his eyes. "Define evolving circumstances." Junyeok shrugged. You've started smiling at me. I've started making you pancakes that you pretend to hate. We fell asleep together on a couch last night. Feels like the original rules don't cover all of that. Gio leaned back in his chair. And what changes do you propose? Junyeok pulled a folded piece of paper from his jacket. Clause 1, he began dramatically. Handholding is allowed when emotionally convenient, not just in front of others. Gio stared at him. You wrote that down? Clause 2, lingering eye contact must be acknowledged and not ignored like two middle schoolers with crushes. Gio almost laughed. Almost. Clause 3, pancakes are now mandatory on weekends. I hate your pancakes. You're still eating them, Mr. Liar Liar. A silence stretched between them. Junyeok grinned at him, but Gio looked away, pretending to focus on a paper that wasn't even important. Clause 4? Gio asked quietly. Junyeok's voice softened. It's not really a clause. Just a note. He unfolded the last line. You're allowed to let someone in, even if it's just me. Gio froze. Didn't speak. Didn't move. The only sound was the low hum of the air conditioning. Junyeok stood slowly. Walked to the desk. Placed the updated contract on top of Gio's files. I'm going to go get coffee, he said casually. You don't have to answer, just think about it. Junyeok sat alone, watching the sun drop behind the city. His phone buzzed. Gio, Clause 5, you talk too much. Junyeok smiled. Gio, Clause 6, I don't want you falling asleep on any couch that isn't mine. Junyeok's heart did something messy. Junyeok, Clause 7, stop making me like you. Gio, too late. Gio had agreed, regrettably, to bring Junyeok to his family's monthly dinner. It wasn't exactly a war zone, but Gio's relationship with his father was strained at best. Junyeok, dressed in a clean black button-down and messy soft waves in his hair, stood nervously beside Gio as they entered the grand dining room. Gio whispered, you don't have to say much. Just smile. And don't let my dad get to you. Junyeok whispered back, is he terrifying? Like a shark in a tuxedo. Got it. The evening went tolerably. Until Mr. Han leaned forward and asked Junyeok, and what is it exactly that you do? Junyeok replied smoothly, I'm a photographer. Mr. Han raised a brow. Ah, so you take pictures of people who actually work for a living. The tension was instant. But Junyeok didn't miss a beat. I like to capture the moments that reveal who someone really is, he said calmly. Even the ones they try to hide behind expensive suits. Gio choked on his water. Mr. Han blinked. The room went silent. Then someone coughed. Gio reached under the table and squeezed Junyeok's hand. Hard. Later, in the car, Gio whispered, that was either the bravest or the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Junyeok smirked. I'm still alive, aren't I? You're also still my fake boyfriend. Junyeok looked at him. Yeah, about that. What? What if I don't want it to be fake anymore? Silence. The car moved on. But something irreversible had just been said. Gio couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling for a long time. Then reached for his phone. A text. Gio, Clause 8, I'm scared too. Junyeok didn't reply right away. Then. Junyeok, good. Means we're both real now. Like, subscribe, and comment part 2 if you think you've figured it out, but trust me, you haven't.